You're watching Rogers TV, St. John's.
Focused on quality and convenience, there isn't much you won't find at Marie's Mini Mart. Home-style breads, sandwiches, plus a variety of artisan breads and delicious single-serve desserts available exclusively at our Frecker Drive location. Marie's Mini Mart, with 25 locations wherever you go, there we are.
Hello, I'm Karl Wells, and this is Point to Point. My guest today is Jakub Martinec. He is the artistic director and founder of the Atlantic Boychoir, also the artistic director of the National Boychoir of Canada. He's the choral director at the MUN School of Music. Born in Hradec Králové in communist-controlled Czechoslovakia, he developed a love of music and singing at a very early age and has spent most of his life teaching people to sing well and appreciate the beauty of choral music. And Jakub, it's a pleasure to welcome you to Point.
Thank you for inviting me.
You grew up in Hradec Králové in, as I said, communist-controlled Czechoslovakia. Now, growing up in the 80s and 90s, the Velvet Revolution happened in 1989. So you must have been very aware of that transition that was happening from the country going from communist to the Democratic Czech Republic. A tense period, but exciting. How was it?
Well, I was only 10 years old when the transition happened on November 17, 1989. And my parents were wonderful. I had a wonderful childhood, a very supportive family. So I was not much aware of the politics, but of course, I knew what was happening. And it was a very, very exciting times. Actually, my PhD dissertation is about the transition from communism into democracy, and especially what happened to choral music education during this tumultuous years.
Tell me about your family background, your parents and your siblings. I understand that there was a great love of sports in your family.
We are divided exactly in half. I have two older brothers, and my mom, she was artist and painter. She worked with glass, and she was teacher of art her entire life. My father, he, when he was young, made it to national team as a soccer player, which is Czech national sport. So I always make joke about my brothers being not all that talented, so they had to play hockey. And they made it really far. They both played for national team of the Czech Republic, and now they are coaches. One is coaching in Asian Hockey League in Seoul in South Korea, and the other one is coach for the junior national team for hockey. So yes, we are exactly divided.
So they've been as successful in their fields as you have been in yours.
That's right, and we always made a deal that they would come to one concert a year and I would make it to one of their matches or whatever it's called.
Sounds like a good deal to me. Was there much music in your home, and when did you start singing?
My grandmother was really important to me, and she did a lot of singing, and I think that she discovered my passion for singing and for music. I started singing in choirs when I was 4 years old, and I immediately fell in love to choral music. In Czech Republic, it's a little bit different from North America, so the extracurricular activities they make you busy during the week. We had 4 to 5 rehearsals, and so I was busy since I was 4 with singing in the choirs.
So what is it about singing in a choir that you like? What's special about singing in a choir? It's not just the music, is it? Or?
It's not only, of course, about the music. It's about the whole social aspect, about the team, about the responsibility. And during the communist times, when I was in the choir, I was in one of the elite organizations. And we had 600 singers in our choir, and only the best 30 got to travel. So even during communist times, I traveled to Japan, to United States. We toured all over the world. And we were not aware that, of course, it was a propaganda of the regime, but we had a wonderful time. It was fully supported by government, fully funded by government. There was no cost for the parents. And it was really, really exciting for me to be part of the group. And there was the passion for the singing, but of course, for the great team of singers.
Yeah, it's interesting you should mention the propaganda. I guess the government were trying to show how superior the communist system was. Look what we can do. Look at the kind of singers and the choirs that we can produce.
And especially children.
Yeah.
So they really supported all the youth organizations, not in just sport, but in singing, in choirs, in art.
Now, when you decided to make a career of music, how did your family react to that decision? And when did that happen for you?
Well, my dream was always to be an opera singer. So I started my university studies as a voice major. And my family was really supportive. My parents and my mom and dad, they wanted me to be happy and to do what I wished to do. And opera was always my dream. Until I received an opportunity to conduct a choir on tour. When I was really young, I was 19 years old. And from that moment, I absolutely fell in love into directing the choirs. And the opera was gone. Since that moment, I was conducting choirs, and I knew that that was something I wanted to do for the rest of my life.
I have to ask you, just out of curiosity, there comes a point in a boy singer's life when the voice changes, when it cracks and you go from being a boy soprano to being a boy tenor or a boy baritone. It can be quite traumatic. What was that moment like for you, and how did you get through it?
It is a very traumatic moment in a young man's life. It's easier when you sing in the voice choir because it happens all the time and you are used to it. And that was my case. I was an alto soloist in famous Prague Spring Festival in Chichester Psalms by Leonard Bernstein in June. And in July, I was young baritone. I lost everything overnight.
Wow.
And it was so much easier for me because I was in the boy choir.
Now, you went to university. Which university did you go to?
I studied in two universities in the Czech Republic. One was in the city of Ostrava, in northern Bohemia, and then in the University of Hradec Králové.
Yeah.
And then I did my doctorate in Canada at University of Western Ontario.
You said that when you were under communist control, when it was Czechoslovakia, the government used the choirs and the musicians as sort of a propaganda tool.
That's correct.
Did that change when you became the Czech Republic? Was it still, was it a nurturing place for musicians and singers? Because most of Europe is that way, isn't it?
It is, and during that transition from 1989 until 1993, when we became independent Czech Republic, it was very tough for all those organizations that were funded by government because most of those organizations lost funding overnight. So it required a lot of effort to keep those going. But Czech Republic is country of Dvořák and Smetana and Janáček and Martinu. There's a strong history and strong culture of singing, very similar to Newfoundland. So I think that transition actually helped to build more independent organizations, more choir schools, and we have some of the absolutely phenomenal choirs that are amongst the best in the world. They are touring professionally, are hired ensembles to be part of a very prestigious concert series.
So university, you were a voice major at university. Did you have a post-university career plan mapped out? And if so, what was it?
I wanted to sing in opera. I wanted to be in even a smaller theater in the Czech Republic singing opera, because I absolutely loved opera singing, and that was always my dream until that moment when I started conducting the choir.
Mm. Talk about that moment. What was it you felt? What was it that made you think, oh, this is what I was meant to do?
For me, the boy choir is very unique, not only from the social aspect, but musically. The sound of the boys and young men is very, very different, very unique. The combination of young trebles, sopranos and altos, with young tenors and basses is irreplaceable. And I fell in love to that sound. And boys are very competitive. They love to work hard, they're dedicated, and we were able to achieve unbelievable projects. Messiah in the top concert halls around Europe, and other big projects, premieres of Baroque music.
We should explain, you founded the Czech Boy Choir.
I did, and I always tell my boys in the choir that they cannot trick me, because I went from the singer and assistant conductor and section leader to the conductor and all the way to artistic director.
Yeah.
And so I know it from all different angles.
Forming the Czech Boy Choir, was that, it sounds like a gargantuan task to me, but what was it actually like, and did you get much support for that?
There are many Czech choirs of boys and young men in the Czech Republic, and the first choirs of boys that started singing together goes back to 13th, 14th century in St. Vitus Cathedral in Prague. So there is a strong, strong history of boys and men singing together. So to have Czech National Boy Choir was something that was absolutely needed. And we had over 100 boys in our concert choir, boys and young men from the age of 8 to 22, and it was absolutely wonderful experience to see them grow. I just recently saw that one of my trebles got married. So the time flies, and it's wonderful to watch their careers and their successes.
Talk about your Canadian connections now. You said you went to the University of Western Ontario, but your wife, Jennifer Bynon, is a Canadian citizen.
Well, we met in the United States in one of the choral events, World Symposium of Choral Music in Minneapolis many, many years ago. And then we started talking, and then it got really expensive. She moved to the Czech Republic, and we lived together for almost 9 years there. She worked with the Czech Boys Choir. She's a wonderful choral director and also a phenomenal singer. So she worked on and specializes on vocal technique with the boys, and especially during the years of, or during the time of voice change of the young tenors and baritones.
So did she speak the language?
She learned the
Okay.
language, yes. Two of our children were born in the Czech Republic. So yes, she learned that most difficult Czech language.
So then you have the opportunity to come to Newfoundland, here at the easternmost edge of North America, this exotic island. Tell me about the discussions you and Jennifer had about coming here, and did it seem like a big adventure to you?
It was a huge adventure. Moving from Prague to St. John's was something unimaginable for both of us, but she heard of Newfoundland and she always loved Newfoundland. I heard of Newfoundland in relationship to Festival 500. And so I was really, really excited to move here. For me, it was also, and Newfoundland and St. John's especially, is the step in between North America and Europe. So I'm not sure I will be able to live farther in Canada, but Newfoundland was a perfect fit.
Yeah. Now, as you know, you mentioned Festival 500. There's a very strong choral community here, and there always has been, really. When you thought about forming the Atlantic Boychoir, did you have any, was there any trepidation there? Because, I mean, a lot of people would say, well, we really don't need any more choirs. We have enough choirs.
That's right, and the choral community is absolutely strong. I think one of the strongest in Canada. But there was that one choir missing, the choir of boys and young men. And it's so important to have choir of boys and young men. When we had King Singers here last January, they all told me that they all came from the boy choirs. They would not be where they are now if they didn't start singing with boys and men, because it is so different than being part of the other youth or children's choirs. Boys own it. Boys love to sing together. They are proud of it. And that was my motivation. We also have a 7-year-old son, and I wanted to have that experience for him.
What was the reaction of your colleagues in the choral community when you told them, I think I'm going to start a boy choir here?
Well, they were really supportive, but when I said I would like to have a provincial boy choir, not so much.
That's right. So talk about that aspect of the choir, because these boys don't just come from St. John's. They come from all over Newfoundland and Labrador.
That's
How
right.
do you manage the logistics of that?
Well, it's really difficult, it's really expensive, and it requires a lot of help from music educators. We are lucky in Newfoundland. We have phenomenal music educators and colleagues that are on board, helping, and believe in this dream, believe in the importance of boys and men singing together. We would not be able to do this without them. So we have a strong team around Atlantic Boychoir. We have over 120 boys now from across Newfoundland, from Bonavista, from Louisport, from Corner Brook, from all over this beautiful province.
Talk about some of the people who you have working with you behind the scenes, because you have a number of music professionals supporting the choir. It's not just you, but I know of people like David Chafe, for example, the well-known choral guy here in the city. He's done work with your
Absolutely.
choir
So
as well.
it's me and my wife. We started the choir together, and we are both co-founders and co-artistic directors of this group. But as you mentioned, David Chafe is our pianist. He also teaches music theory to our young trebles, sopranos and altos. Then on the West Coast, we have Dr. Jennifer Matthews. She is a wonderful supporter and help to all of us. We work with Maxine Stanley in Grand Falls, and we have many other. Charlene Wolfrey-Soler in Clarenville, Michelle Bennett, Lisa Drover here in St. John's working with our training choirs. There is a long list of wonderful colleagues that are really important for this organization.
Talk about the singers. How do you find these singers, and are you looking for a particular quality? Obviously, they have to be able to sing, but what is it you're looking for?
Dedication. Everyone can sing.
Attitude.
Attitude, and everyone can learn to sing. I learned so many years back that anyone really can sing, and it's all about dedication, hard work, discipline, and those boys can do it.
You weren't content to stop with the Atlantic Boy Choir. Now you have the National Boy Choir of Canada. How did you come up with that idea, and how has it been working for you so far?
Well, I truly believe that there is never enough boys and men singing together. And we are lucky in Newfoundland, we have now boy choir. But there are not that many boy choirs in Canada. And there are several boys and young men that don't have opportunity to sing with the choir of boys and young men. So there came an idea to build this choir called National Boy Choir of Canada. And this past summer we had 40 boys from across Canada.
Wow.
That came together.
So talk about the representation. Did they come from every province, or?
Not every single province. I believe we have 6 provinces represented.
That's pretty good.
We had Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Ontario, Nova Scotia, and Newfoundland, also Alberta. And it was tremendous to see those boys coming together in song. We spent a week in Grosmore National Park rehearsing, and then we went on tour to Italy.
Wow.
Boys were special guests of a renowned festival, Zelioli Festival, close to Milan, and they were treated like rock stars. It was really wonderful to see them grow as musicians and as a group.
So what has been the reaction, by the way, of audiences locally and internationally to these choirs?
Tremendous response, tremendous support. And we are really grateful for a wonderful audience, especially here in Newfoundland. We did a provincial tour, I believe 2 years ago, across the island, and it was wonderful to sing for audiences in Carbonear and Grand Falls and Corner Brook. We had sold out shows everywhere, and the support, I think in one concert we had 6 standing ovations. And I said to the boys, that's a little too much. Don't expect that everywhere. No. So it's really wonderful. And boys need it, and they deserve it.
And you managed to find ways to highlight certain members of the choir as well. I know you have certain boys that do solos, and I was at one of your concerts, and one of the young men was playing the cello.
Yeah. It's Sidney Chislett. He is a very talented cellist here in the city, and he is also our alto soloist. We have many boys, of course, that don't only sing. They are, and we want to have musicians. That's why they are doing theory and vocal technique. And it's not only about choral singing. We would like to raise and build real musicians.
So going forward, Jakub, what are your dreams for both of these choirs? Where would you like to see?
I would like to see them grow and to become independent, strong organizations. And I would like to be able to offer this program to as many boys as possible, regardless their financial situation. And it's where I'm coming from. When I was a child, everything was funded by government. There was no tuition to be part of the choir. It was all about the dedication. And I would like to offer very similar to boys in Newfoundland, to boy in Rocky Harbour that would like to be part of this organization but doesn't have many resources. I would like him to be part of the group.
So there are probably some people who, because of their geographical situation, can't get to a concert. Do you have any plans to do any recording?
We are right now in the middle of recording sessions, and our first CD will be released on October 20th at the Rooms. It's called Gloria, and it's a choral meditation for Christmas. It's, of course, includes the masterpiece Gloria by John Rutter, and many other beautiful compositions by Bach, Mozart, Handel, and Sir Wilcox, famous carols by Sir David Wilcox. So right in time for Christmas season.
You know how to market, I'll give you that. Jakub, I had to ask this before we go. How do you manage to juggle everything? You're a full-time professor at Memorial University, you've got the Atlantic Boychoir, you've got the National Boychoir of Canada, you have 3 children. Your life is just, I mean, it's crazy. It's dizzying, your schedule. How do you manage it all?
I'm very lucky because at the university, my dean, Dr. Sutherland, is very, very supportive. He believes he's one of our honorary patrons of the Atlantic Boychoir, and he believes in these projects. So it's wonderful to have him on board. And my wife, she is my partner in crime. She manages unbelievable amount of work with the children and with all the choirs, and I don't like to be bored. I like to be busy.
What do you do for relaxation when you have time? I know you like to cook.
I like to cook. Yeah, you need to try my strudel.
I would love to try your strudel.
Deal.
Jakub Martinec, thank you very much for being our guest on Point to Point.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you.
Focused on quality and convenience, there isn't much you won't find at Marie's Mini Mart. Home-style breads, sandwiches, plus a variety of artisan breads and delicious single-serve desserts available exclusively at our Frecker Drive location. Marie's Mini Mart, with 25 locations wherever you go, there we are.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
You're watching Rogers TV, St. John's.
Sometimes, for a wish to come true, it takes a kingdom, because together is stronger. Tied tight, united we stand, in honor of one child's wish, to fuel the fire that will grant many more. Join the kingdom